Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Joe, would you call a roll call, please?
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Ms. Giuliani.
Here.
Mr. Tolmer.
Here.
Ms. Belliver. Ms. Cimaroli.
Here.
I'm Joe Coward.
Thank you. Signed up to talk. Bob, you had an issue, but you want to wait till we get to
Could I
the-
wait till it's more, I don't want to steal from the time from the comprehensive plan because it seems to carry over, and so I'll just wait till the end
Okay.
or where I went to, if I could, where the roundabout discussion was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adoption of minutes. Joe included a copy of the draft copy of the minutes in our packet. I take it,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
Second.
Motion to adopt in a second by Melissa. Okay, any further discussion, comments, corrections? Okay, all in favor of adopting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. No new business. Old business, downtown zoning district. Randy, you're up.
All right. So Joe should have provided the updated boundary map and use table from our discussions last month. Did everyone get a chance to look over those?
Yeah.
Anyone have any changes or updates that need to be made from what we discussed last month?
I have some questions.
I have one question, and I don't know, it may have been answered last time. Why did we not include the roller rink in that area back down there?
It's more of, it's outside of like the downtown. It's
Okay.
a commercial area, but it's
Okay.
not really downtown Bridgeville.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
I thought it was more kind of industrial.
Industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
And you want to allow room within your borough, you don't want to make too much downtown, like when you
Okay.
start to creep out of the actual downtown, especially in an area like that that is more appropriate for light industrial uses, so you still
Okay.
want to provide those areas within
Okay.
the borough. So it'll still be zoned mixed use commercial,
Okay.
as it is currently.
And maybe you'll get to this a little further on, but at the end of the packet, there was the list of land uses and preference sheet.
Yeah, like that chart right there.
Oh, yes, that'll be, I'm sorry, yes.
We'll talk about that
discussing
later.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm good. Anybody else have any questions regarding land use or?
no,
No, I thought it was good.
All right, so the main topic for tonight is to plan for the design charrette that we're having in April. I believe everyone should have gotten the flyer, and I assume you're already getting the word out for April 10th, 5 to 7 at the library. So tonight, I wanted to go over the material that we're planning on having that night to make sure everybody's comfortable, or see if we want to do anything differently, because this is really, we're flexible, and we want to make sure that we provide an event that is going to get what you need. So I am completely, these are suggestions at this point, based on our internal discussions at Mapkin, what we know about the project, what we've done in other areas. But please, if you have other suggestions, I'm definitely open to hearing those. So I think you had some small handouts in your packet. At the meeting, we'll have boards that are this size, so they'll be larger. What you were talking about, Dale, with the preference. So we're going to, let me step back for a sec. The meeting's going to start with a brief presentation from Mackin. We'll have Joe or someone from the borough welcome everybody. And then we'll do a brief presentation just to make sure that everyone's on the same page with what the purpose of the project is, and what we're doing with this zoning amendment, answer any general questions about the process. Then the plan will be to have stations available that people can work with staff and with borough representatives to provide specific feedback on the different aspects of to add a station or extend that 45 minutes, we can do that. But right now, it's about 45 minutes. People will rotate through stations to provide feedback on the different aspects of the district. So tonight, we want to make sure that we have the proper stations that everybody's comfortable with. And then after everybody works through the stations, we'll take about a 10 to 15 minute break where Tori will compile some information and she's going to give you a brief demonstration a little bit later on that. And then we'll bring kind of everybody back together to review what we heard. It's not going to be final because we're not going to be able to go through everything that quickly, but we can kind of give an idea of, okay, this is what we're hearing from the input at the stations, primarily for building design guidelines and things like that. So now, for the various stations, one station will be on uses for the downtown district. So basically what we'll have is a board with all the various uses listed. It's actually going to be two boards because there's too many to put onto one. So we'll have all the uses listed down the side here. Then people will have dots, red and green. The red dots go on uses that you don't think are appropriate for downtown, green appropriate. So they'll put their dots in this section over here. If we have a lot, we'll bring extra of these. If we have a really big turnout, obviously, you know, we're limited with space, we'll just swap out the boards.
So you're giving people 50 dots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like a yes or no dot?
Yeah, it's a green light, red light.
And these
Yes
are
or
things that we reviewed in our
That's
last,
the next discussion point. Do we want to take all the uses that you currently allow, or do we want to take the edited version that we went through with planning commission? And that's completely up to you. So that's our first point of discussion tonight is which use table should I bring?
Well,
Mike.
if we use the one that we started with, has a lot more of the conditional use and that type of thing, is that going to be confusing for people?
So we can put a note on which are conditional and which are permitted by right, but keep in mind, even if it's a conditional use, it's still permitted. So it's still a permitted use, it's just permitted with conditions. So it's not like it's a different, you know, not allowed or partially allowed. It's allowed if it meets conditions.
So, I guess I didn't clarify that. I mean, originally, we're going from a multiple use or a business district, I mean, what is its own now?
Mixed use.
Mixed use. Okay, so we're going from mixed use to a business district. We have already gone through and kind of narrowed
Yes,
stuff out.
yes.
And you were asking, do we want to use the business district one or this?
Or the one that was narrowed down.
Okay. If we use the business district one, there's a lot of stuff in there that we either took out or you put as conditional use. If we use
The full list.
the full list, won't that confuse people?
We would just say these are the uses that are allowed right now in the mixed use district, which includes your downtown.
Okay.
The purpose of the meeting, and this will be explained in the presentation part at the beginning. The purpose of this project is to look at the possibility of creating a downtown business district for Bridgeville, which separates the downtown out of that mixed-use district. So it would have uses specific for the downtown district. These are the uses that are allowed in the mixed-use district. Which of these uses do you think are appropriate to include in the downtown district?
And
So
I
that
would
would be
include the
explained.
conditional uses
And
as if
As
they
if
are.
they're just permitted. Because
They are.
at this level, with this group of folks, I think we don't want to get too much in the weeds, because we have 2 hours, but it's only 2 hours. So I think once we hear from folks what uses they prefer, and we compare that with what planning commission and staff and council have all discussed, then we get into should it be conditional or permitted by right. But not at this meeting, I don't think. That's too detailed.
I was just gonna say, I think we should not use the list that we pared down.
Yeah.
right, I agree.
Because
I think
it
we
looks,
should
because only the optics is,
Yes.
we're already telling us
Retail
what you want, you know?
That, I wasn't going to give my opinion until I heard from you, but that's what I feel.
Okay.
Well, also, it kind of shows us like how in touch we are with
Yes,
the community.
the community.
It's
And
really
that's the
good
purpose of this
comparison.
meeting is, because we're not creating this in a vacuum here. That's why we're doing public output, or I'm sorry, public
I mean,
input.
the thought is, you're gonna see the dots there, and they're going to hopefully
Align.
reinforce what we
Yes.
kind of talked about.
And if they do not, then we're gonna have further discussions as a planning commission, because ultimately it's your recommendation that goes to Borough Council, but we are taking public input to help you make those decisions.
Are we going to, like, when somebody looks at this and says, oh, indoor entertainment, are we gonna like elaborate with examples of these types of
So-
businesses?
I'll have handouts that have definitions for all of the uses. I have put them on the boards before, but unfortunately, because we need space, the definitions aren't gonna fit on the board, or we're gonna have 10 boards.
Right.
So my plan was to bring several handouts with full definitions, so if people need to look up a specific use, all of the uses that are listed here will have a definition in the handout at the table. So hopefully it'll help. There still may be some, because some of these uses are a little confusing and can mean different things to different people, but that's also why we'll have staff at each station, in addition to the definitions.
Mr. Verducci, would you have any thoughts or
I
ideas?
totally agree. You guys made decisions ahead of time, so you're not gonna hear what they have, so you've already done it. Put yours off to the side and see what they say to make sure they coincide. I think it's a great
I
idea.
think we're all on the same page here.
Right.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is station 1. So then, you currently have some design standards for your mixed-use district. Some are a bit vague, some may be a little bit too over-regulatory. So our thought was to provide different examples of streetscape, like outdoor dining options. One of the other items of discussion, I think, should be building height. Currently, I believe your maximum building height in the mixed-use district is 45 feet, but there is a, or is it?
100.
Well, it's 45 feet as your standard, but then you're allowed to go up to 110 if you go through a specific process. It like has to go in front of the zoning hearing board or planning commission or something, which is pretty high for a downtown. It could be appropriate for some areas in your mixed-use district in general, but for your downtown, that's pretty high compared to your 45 feet. So I wanted to have some discussions on building height, what's appropriate for downtown. So these boards will be available where, again, folks can put green dots, red dots on things that they like and don't like. So there's also signage options, building transparency. These are all things that are usually considered in downtowns for design standard.
Are we, the boards that fold up, those are allowed from 8 until 10, right?
Correct. They should bring them in at night, but they don't.
Okay, all right.
So this isn't really talking about what you currently allow, it's more about, well, the building height is what you're doing, but it's more about what do people like to see in a downtown. Do we need to add or subtract things in terms of your streetscape? And again, we can change these, we can add things to them, these are just some suggestions. And then things like planters, green infrastructure like rain gardens, street trees are on this other board.
What's that got to do with it?
So you can allow street trees, you can require street trees, you can allow rain gardens and different types of green infrastructure. Not that you're requiring them, but you're allowing them on your downtown. And again, if this is something that you don't think is necessary, you can not bring this one. But these are just some other options. streetscape that do relate to zoning regulations.
We get extra stickers for us for stuff, since we're a planning commission, we get two
Do you
stickers.
get extra stickers, 2 for everyone? That's what I was thinking is only
Bring all your
fair.
friends.
We're going to count the number of options, and then you get the same amount of green and red. And everybody will get, and we'll have all that prepared in advance, so we're not counting out stickers that night. They'll be in packets, and people will just be handed their stickers as they come into the meeting. And again, during the presentation at the end, I'll talk about each of the stations so people will know what to expect when they get to the stations. So before we make any decisions on these boards, I wanted to give Tori an opportunity. Like I said, we're going to take that 15-minute break. And so she can start going through what got the most green dots and kind of allow people to see what that might look like. We chose the site down here, the empty lots, because there aren't any buildings there currently. So this will just allow folks to kind of see, okay, this is what people were saying about signage and about outdoor furniture, that kind of thing. So Tori, you can take it from here.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me tonight. My name is Tori, I'm with Mackin. So really what we were discussing was a way for people to take these design considerations that they can vote for via sticker on these boards and give them a way to visualize those through 3D modeling. So we have all these different elements kind of teed up and ready to go. So during this 10-15 minute break, it'd be really simple for me to, take a consensus of what everybody likes, doesn't like, and show that in a 3D model. So right here I have Washington Pike, and you can see this is basically just a blank slate. You can see pretty much all I have there is a sidewalk and some telephone poles. So for example, I'm just going to pick out a couple of different elements that people could vote on, such as building height, building transparency, and street trees. Another one that we can quickly add in is signage. So for example, let's say I prefer the building that is 45 feet tall and I want to max it out at that. And as for signage, I really like an awning style like this. We can easily pop that on there, just like so. And then we can take this over to the street itself. And you can say, put it right there. And then you can play with setbacks, a lot of different elements like that. And say I like a style of street tree that we're also allowing planters in between. I can take this right here, pull it over very quickly. And give people an idea of what that could look like. So this is the individual store right here, but we can give people an idea of what that would be like if it was extended down the streetscape. Like this. All right. And then you can kind of get an idea of what that would be like. So it's really just a fun, interactive activity for people to visualize these design standards. And that's what we've been working on.
Thanks, Tori. And this is very simple what she did here. So what she would be doing, people would be taking a break. They can watch her if they want, but I was thinking we would have some sort of maybe refreshments like cookies and water there. So they can take a break, use the restroom, grab a cookie if they want. Tori would be working on this, and then we would bring everybody back, and then the whole kind of block would be put together based on what we heard from these boards.
So, I mean, I think, Ahmed, from our past discussions, we always thought about live work. situations, all right?
Yes.
Which would probably be on the main drive.
Right.
All right, is there any way to actually make those buildings there look like a
Yeah.
live work?
Yeah, like we can make them multi-story, so you'd have like maybe just a couple windows on the top, you'd have a storefront on the bottom, so it would look,
And a balcony?
and a balcony on the top. Like, so we can mix in some of the uses too from the use table when we see the dots. If everyone really likes that, upper story residential, we can make the buildings look like that. So it all just, what she creates would be dependent on what folks said with the boards. And again, it's not going to, it's not a big magic kind of thing that this is what it's gonna exactly look like. It just, as Tori mentioned, it's kind of just a fun way to show people that, okay, this is what you said and this is what it could look like in a model. So, do you agree with what you're seeing up
Yeah,
here?
and I think we have to make that clear that this is.
Yes, this is only a model.
This is not the final solution.
Right,
We
this is just
we
a
love that one.
fun way to show you.
I'm still saying it.
This is, yeah, so we'll have to make that clear to the meeting attendees. But again, it was just something we were thinking of to kind of take these 2D pictures and show people what it might look like on the streetscape.
Could, like, if by chance, like, the temperature of the room isn't, like, thinking the same way that this project has been going, so if there was a conversation that, hey, we like self-storage centers.
Yeah.
Could you make sure there's like a
Yes.
45-foot self-storage center
Yeah, so
that you could show?
I think, yeah, Tori, we could make something look like a self-storage, like undesirable to some people.
On Main
but-
Street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we can
It
do
belongs
that.
somewhere in town, it's not Main Street.
Yeah.
That's all.
So if that's coming up with a lot of dots, okay, this is what it looks like.
That's all.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, so Tori, we'll mix in the uses as well as the design elements. So we can talk about
Okay.
that in the office.
Yeah, I definitely think we can do that.
So looking at this new layout zoning, this is the area that we're talking about putting some sort of residential apartments, condos, or something like that, correct?
We talked about that in the comp plan, yes.
Correct.
So we're not showing, I'm sorry, you probably have the rest of your question.
No, go ahead.
So we're not showing that whole site
Okay.
here. This is just fronting on Washington Avenue.
Okay,
Because to get, again, what we talked about earlier with our time constraints,
yeah,
we can't delve into everything
Okay.
that site could look
All right.
like. So this is kind of just thinking about Main Street
all right.
and if this would be developed, what it would look like fronting Washington. And then also, if buildings get demolished or, destroyed through fire or whatever on further up where it's already built out, you'd want them to look like what's already there. I would think, we'll hear what people have to say, but
So-
usually that's,
In this discussion, at this point, would we make recommendations in regards to having access from this main street to those areas behind it?
so that's in your saldo, or that would be in your saldo, which is separate from
Okay.
zoning. So a site development or a land development plan would come in. So zoning would regulate what uses are allowed, how tall the buildings can be, what are the setbacks for the buildings. If you want to include some of these design guidelines about building transparency, like the
Yes.
50% of the front has to be windows, that kind of thing, that's all zoning. But when you're starting to discuss access to the site, sidewalks, things like that, that would be in your subdivision and land development,
Okay.
plans, which is separate from
Okay.
zoning.
Don't you think like this trees and stuff is more salvo than zoning?
So, yeah, I mean, that's,
That's smart.
yeah, the landscaping can be in your zoning, so you can, it's like it can be in both, but you're right, trees are primarily, the types of trees especially would be in your saldo.
So can you, is there any point in which you could say that, okay, 10% of this area needs to be green? You
In
know,
your
a
South
park
In
and
your
solar,
South
okay, all right.
Yes, you can put regulations like that in your South
That also could be an area, a zoning requirement on the area. Because
Yeah,
we're now saying
like-
100% of the lot
Yeah,
area.
you can do lot coverages for sure in zoning. So right now, it's 100% of the lot can be covered by the building in your mixed-use district. So if you want to shrink that to, you know, allow for, greening,
But what are we gonna be greening in
but,
Abbey? Because you're gonna have a setback at zero.
yeah, so that's,
Yeah, but, I mean, because you're taking, you think Darby's still gonna be in existence if this ever gets developed?
I don't know. I would think it would be.
what's Darby?
The
The
alley.
street,
The
the alley.
alley. Oh, I
See,
see.
I envisioned that whole area under development. So,
It would all depend on what comes in with your land development. It can
yeah,
go either way.
okay.
But again, that would, streets specifically are south. Access, egress and ingress to a site, it would be regulated by subdivision and development. So I think I'm hearing that street trees might not be what you want to see on.
Oh, I didn't say that, I know our salvo currently defines.
the street trees,
That kind of
yeah.
stuff. I don't know if it goes into Washington Avenue street trees, but you'll see planting requirements in the salvo.
Yeah.
That's all.
Mike, you have anything? Melissa?
And underground utilities.
Well, you have that up further, but down below, you need to, unfortunately, that's not zoning, that's money. But yeah, if at some point you could continue that the whole way down, that would be fabulous. Because what you have up here looks so nice compared to what's down there. So anything that you think is missing or needs to be changed with any of the design stuff? And we're still working out what these boards are gonna look like exactly, but we'll have picture boards with the opportunity to vote.
And would you add, if you remember last month's conversation, there's a lot of uses that aren't like defined, that we said we should have them on there.
Yes,
You'll
so
make sure that on the
every
front
use
of it-
that we have on that board will have a definition.
No, I'm getting at, like last month, we talked about
Oh, adding, yes, we'll
Right.
add those couple of things, like the,
like a
maker
dispensary.
space, dispensary, we talked about the, co-working space.
So they'll be added.
So we'll
as
add
preferences.
those even, so what we'll have is your full list that you currently allow in your mixed use district and the types of uses that we talked about last month that aren't currently in there, we'll have those as options too. Yeah, sorry, Joe, I misunderstood. Yeah, so, and then we'll also have, an area for other uses, like, there might be something that we haven't thought of
Yeah, sure.
that people could add in, so we'll have some blank space too.
Good.
Okay, I'm just making a quick note. Okay. All right.
That'll be interesting.
The other thing, the other board that we'll have there is the boundary map, so folks can see what we're considering. And, I mean, I'll have markers if they want to mark it up. Again, in full transparency, we'll have this here, but this is, you know, what we'll show as what the proposed district would look like, because we need to have a boundary to show.
Should I bring a zoning map that shows the entire borough? That way people
Yes.
understand
And
that,
understand in the context of this.
because the mixed district is
It's
massive.
big.
That way we're not saying, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
It's
you're
actually,
still allowed in all these other areas.
yeah.
I think that'd be great.
It sets context.
Yeah, so we'll have two boards next to each other, the existing zoning board, which Joe will bring,
Like,
And
we have
then-
a big, I just take them
Yeah,
off
just
the
take
wall.
that one. And then Wood will bring a large size of what we're proposing. And then again, there can be markers that if there are any comments, we'll take those. So we'll have 3 stations. Just to show the boundary, any comments that people want to make on that. The use boards and then the picture boards. And so we'll have people rotate through those. Like I said, we can have like 45 minutes to an hour for that exercise. It's gonna really depend on how many people show up. So we can change that on the fly if we need to extend the time or shorten the time. But right now, what I'm thinking is 15-minute presentation, 45 minutes to an hour to do the exercise, 15-minute break, get everybody back together, look at what we've done or what their comments are saying, and then talk about next steps for the project.
Will your presentation be similar to like the way we started last month off?
Yeah, talking about what makes a good downtown based on national standards, and the purpose of this project. It'll be brief, yeah.
And
we'll
you'll
take
go
it-
into like how this came out of the comp plan?
Yes,
This didn't
100%,
come out of the blue?
exactly, yes. Yeah, all of that will be in the presentation, and I can send it via email, next week when it gets all finished, and that way if there's any tweaks that need to be made to it, you'll see it before that night.
That'd be good.
Okay? All right, and then in terms of our process, I know we talked about 3 work sessions. This is our second one, but we'll have our third one in May. I'll come and talk about everything that came out of the charrette. We can finalize any changes that we need to make to building heights or parking or anything else with the district. And then if we need to have another one, just to review the final amendment, that's fine. Because this one was primarily part of that charrette, which you included as the extra item in our contract. So I'm not really counting this as one of our 3 work sessions. So we can have 2 more, just to make sure that we get everything finalized in the way we need it to be. And actually, I'll check my schedule, because this is on April 10th. We might be able to just do the April. Do you have we could do a 6 o'clock in April again?
I advertised through June
Okay,
at 6.
so, yeah. It's the 4th Monday, right? Yeah.
It's gonna be 28.
So I can even, to keep this moving, I can come in April, we can go over everything from the design charrette, talk about some loose ends, and then if we want to have another one to go through the final amendment,
Okay.
we can do that in May. And then you can start, once we're all comfortable, and council is comfortable, we can start that 45-day comment period and public hearing.
So are we gonna talk about design standards at all for any of this?
That's what these are, that's
Okay.
what these are.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there's anything else that you want to see, because like I said, right now we have planters, kind of landscaping, green infrastructure, building transparency, signage, height, and street furniture, outdoor dining.
One thing I'd like to know, do we have a height of Goodwill Villa and Bridgeville Towers?
Bridgeville Towers over here?
Yeah.
I'd have to look. But I could easily get that.
I'm a more visual person, I like to really
Yeah,
see.
110 feet is gonna give you over 8 stories.
Yeah, like the Bridgeville Towers is, I believe, 100 foot.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Maybe even below.
Yeah.
In Grandview Towers, you
well,
look at
Grandview
that.
Tower sits in the hillside.
Yeah,
so-
the building might be taller, but the first 3 floors are below
Below
And then
grade.
you go in on 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
And do
you wanna think about for the downtown district for sure, because like you said, most of your buildings are
Right.
2, 3 stories. So you start putting in 6, 7, 8-story buildings, it's gonna look a little weird.
Awkward, yeah.
So we wanted to give people, again, like you said, visual, so you can see next to a 45-foot building what a 110-foot building looks like.
Could we do a visual mock-up of some of the older buildings in Bridgeville, like what's on one of these pictures, and then put in something that is 100 feet?
So you mean like the actual building and not the model, like a picture? I'll have to talk to Tori about that, I don't know. Tori, can we do actual buildings? Or is it more of just like the block model, 3D model buildings?
You mean have them be more photorealistic?
Yes.
Yeah, we can. I can figure out a way to do that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you'd rather see that.
Let's talk about it in the office and we'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple ideas off the top of my head, but yeah, that shouldn't be too difficult.
Okay.
But like design standard also went into detail with like roof pitches and,
It can,
our current one.
your current one does, yeah. It says that you have to match the roof pitch of your neighbors, which is odd. I have seen where, you need to have like a similar setback, like we were talking about building transparency and kind of fit the character
So
of
would
the
that be
neighborhood,
something
but
we
getting
wanna get rid
specific
of?
about roof pitches is a bit odd
Yeah, because
and not something I normally see.
we had that issue years ago on Station Street.
I know.
Because it was like downhill and then trying to line up a building
Yeah.
so the roof was pitch
And
black.
if you were ever challenged on that in court, I don't know that you would win. Because I don't think legally, there are Pennsylvania is very strict on property owner rights. And if you're not in an historic district, you're limited as what you can require versus suggest. So getting really specific about the roof pitch is a bit odd.
So you think we should get rid of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even make that an option. Because I don't think really legally you should be doing that.
We really need to take a hard look at our design standards again.
What's that?
I said, it sounds like we need to take a good hard look at design standards.
Should that be
Yeah.
an agenda item at the April meeting?
Yeah, so once we get all of these suggestions, so what we'll talk about are the design standards, which will include signage and building height too. And then the other thing is parking. We do have this map here. I don't know if we need to talk about it at the design workshop or if it's just a discussion that we can have as part of this process, but currently, if you are within, 60 feet?
600.
600 feet of public parking lot, you don't have to provide off-street parking. So that covers your whole entire downtown except for this little part at the northern end where we're looking at that potential development site. So your off-street parking requirements would kick in for anything that would happen there. So the question would be, do you want to extend that 600 feet a bit to cover that area, or do you want them to just follow your off-street parking requirements? Which I don't know specifically off the top of my head what they are, but it's gonna be different for different uses.
Yeah, that was the question we've been kicking the can until we got to meet.
Yeah. So I think that's probably a discussion that we just need to have separately, but we can have this board at the meeting, just as a discussion point, that this is the only portion of the district that wouldn't be covered in that 600 feet.
It's the whole north end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll bring this as well, so, again, it'll be another visual that we'll have with the boundary map.
Yeah, that's one of those things that there's been a lot of discussion about removing the minimums.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of that stuff going on out in the real world, other places in the country, and so.
So the National Main Street Guidelines do recommend no off-street parking requirements for a downtown. So that would include this north end property, because it would be within your boundary. that's the recommendation, so it'd just be a matter of confirming that.
'Cause it makes, I mean, all it does is makes it more difficult for somebody to come in and to try to.
Well, and you have, there's such small lots, like where do you put a parking lot? You have to tear down the building next to you to, so it just doesn't make sense. And when you're promoting a walkable business district, it doesn't make sense. So I'll bring this as well. Yeah, so
As we go
at
across
that
the street, we go-
April meeting, parking will be part of that discussion too. Okay. Anything else? I'll be sure.
No, I'm fine.
What's that?
I still don't know what a shred is, but.
It's a French term, fancy meeting. It's a fancy meeting led by fancy people.
Is that where the cookies have to be?
And the fancy cookies.
That's macarons.
We'll have macarons, the macarons. Yes,
Macaron.
That's good to have bubbly water then too.
bubbly water, it's really fancy. We'll have champagne flutes for the bubbly water.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Tori.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank you, Tori.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. So I'll get working on all of this. Send out the presentation next week. Just do a quick look through. If anybody has any comments, just reply all so that everybody can see your comment, and we'll see you on the 10th.
Yeah, but we're getting the word out.
Good. I was gonna ask, have you heard from anybody that's interested?
I have, I'm gonna, you guys.
Yeah,
George Ford.
Talking with Dr. Greer, he was interested.
Yeah, he's coming, I talked to him.
And their other chiropractor, Dr.
Cute.
Hugh.
I reached out to a lot of the owners of like anchor buildings, and,
Good,
and most are coming, say they're coming.
Great.
Thursday too, Joe.
Yes, and then we have a business.
That
meeting here,
business meeting,
and,
yeah, so
we
you
have
can
it on the
promote
table,
it.
and
Yeah.
I'll talk about it as well.
Great. Well, that sounds really good. Okay.
We're trying.
And we'll obviously come early that day to set up, so you have access to the library like an hour early.
But it's there,
Yeah.
you're-
Perfect. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay. I want to take a quick recess before we start with the other stuff.
I will, and I'll tell you, what is it again? Red velvet.
Too many, too many.
Too many sweets, maybe.
You teach my kids something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because when they walk in, they see
Conflict of interest.
take her to school.
Here we go.
She's 15 now, so.
They got me out there today.
Yeah, yeah. What can we get extras?
They're on the wall.
Okay, good.
If you need more, I
So
will.
then there's find out how much they're
And
paying.
don't feel guilty if you take.
Okay.
And they-
When you see them, say something.
I know Mitch Montana pretty well.
And that's what the rebates that they give back. And so I'm sure
Not
that
really. Makes me feel
Thursday, this Thursday,
But I love
Mandy has organized, correct? Oh, I went to see Dr. Strang before I went here. Dr. Strang, I said, listen, we're having a chamber of commerce meeting.
Oh, really?
Thursday night. Oh, yeah.
Right, but you were just on the project that, yeah.
frustrated.
What's wrong
Always good projects, always good design.
Yeah, yeah, they do good work.
Most of them, I think, American later on, when they have projects, how they're designed.
Came up.
And you call them, even SAIs. You're gonna get to do your own.
Right.
Dig a little deeper, I think it's under the kitchen sink.
Truly have an opinion, but stuff. See, Ray?
It's a nice car.
Oh, yeah, I wanna see it.
Holy smokes. Should put some stuff information on the bag.
For Rod Stakes. Adults can't see stuff.
Okay, so, now, in regards to automated, the library, like I invited the pizza place, country style,
Okay.
is that,
It doesn't affect it.
I know, but still, don't you think they might have some input that might be valuable?
Yeah.
I mean, because I was talking to them about, told them what the purpose of it was, and he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, in Cannonsburg, on Main Street, oh, you have now canvas stores. He goes, how many canvas stores do you need?
That's something actually tasteful attached to the building.
He's invested in community.
Yeah.
In the Main Street, it really is, what they say, you're only as good as your Main Street.
Right.
People, they kind of correlate the success of the community, the vibrancy of the Main Street.
Right.
I think you may not own property on there, but you're invested in the community. I feel like you have the same thing
He
there.
is trying to buy that building.
That'd be nice.
Okay. Let's call the meeting back to order. Item 2 under old business, annual report of the Bridgeville Planning Commission. I put together an annual report as per the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, submitted that to the council. You guys have a copy of it just for information. I welcome any comments.
That was great. We hadn't seen that for a while, so I think it's great.
I wonder why. Okay. Let's see, item 3, Bank Street, Chartier Street, Lesnet Road, Mayview Road, roundabout study update. That was, the study the study report was added as part of our packet. Joe, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, the Trans Associates completed the study for the proposed roundabout to go at the intersection of Four Reds up there. Their preliminary findings were, based on a standard design that can get a 50-foot tractor trailer through there, it would require taking a substantial amount of the real estate on both sides of the street. So their opinion was that the constructability of it really didn't make too much sense. This is like just a summary. So they provided a report of what it would take to build a roundabout there with necessary traffic islands to keep the traffic flowing. So that the project isn't dead. The idea is that, hey, something needs done there to improve the safety and functionality of the intersection. So after the review we had with them last week, they're studying a traffic signal that would be phased, and then a four-way stop sign to see if it's practical, if it would meet the warrants to even consider it. So they asked for the accident data of non-reportable accidents at that intersection, and I got that off the police sergeant that day. I sent it to Trans Associates, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I have the study. I know Bob was interested. I'd love to hear Paul's feedback, and I didn't want to give it out until we met with them. And now, after the council has it and planning commission, I'd be more than happy to share it with you. And it's a public document. So I'll keep you guys in the loop when we hear back from Trans where we go with this next.
Just out of curiosity, the reportable and non-reportable traffic accidents in that intersection, how far back? I mean, did the police department report a final report per year?
years here. So he asked for a 5-year
Right,
snapshot.
okay. Because it would, I mean, it would be interesting to see 5 years.
That's what he asked for,
Yeah.
provided it was a
Yeah.
5-year study, or just 5 years.
Because, I mean, from what I've been reading, accidents have been increasing because of people not paying attention, so.
There was a great deal of non-reportable accidents. I think reportable in that period was only like 7
Right,
or 9.
right.
It wasn't many,
Yeah.
but the non-reportable was substantial. The difference between the two is someone that gets hurt and goes to the hospital.
Okay.
Mike, you have anything? Melissa?
Bob? would you-
I think it'd be a good time now if I could add some things. Bob Colmeyer, 1405 Missouri Avenue. And I'm glad to hear that the Transit's continuing to look at things other than the roundabout, because, as you said, it's complicated there and it's confusing. And aside from reportable accidents, there's rage or upset, or people get, it just doesn't work. And I remember 2 meetings ago, 2 council meetings ago, there was a resident who asked the officer here, what's the proper way to go through that intersection? He said, well, you put your left blinker on, then you put your right blinker on. Well, I did some measurements, not out in the field, but through Google Earth, and the distance between center lines of Chartiers and Lesnut is 65 feet. That's all. Now, if you go into some design criteria on the internet, just briefly looking at it, that would be classified as, not very technical, but a jog intersection. And that requires anything a length of 175 feet between center lines so to be, that's how far you have to move it to make it negotiable, make it look proper. Well, that's not doable. So what I started to look at, and I'll pass this out, and this is what the Google Earth current look is, and there's a sketch in the back, which I have a conception of what could also be featured in this. And before I go on, I don't just come by this by going through there. I drive through it every day, but I've been involved in highway construction for like 40 years, and probably about 20 years with Mackin projects, so that a little bit of background here. Basically, what would help? Simply, if the Port Authority, PRT, could relocate their buses to the other side and realign the intersection, lessen that 65-foot distance, skewed somewhat, there's another criteria there, towards Chartiers, utilizing where if you stand there long enough or drive through there, almost what the cars do now, coming out of Chartiers, they go straight. They almost hug Wooler's landscape. They cut that corner, it makes it easy on them. So you move everything that way. Now, back to the buses, they would have to simply go around the block the other way. Really, that makes things a little better for them because it eliminates 2 left turns, which is the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Insurance companies will tell you. Movement for traffic is a left turn. So, and I also sketched some things on this, which is some other distances. I have some traffic volumes here also. Traffic volumes I got off of the PennDOT website. I remember them right. Chartiers has 10,000 vehicles on it. Lesnut has 8,700. Bank and Mayview only have 4,000. Now that's a little bit skewed, I would think, having driven through there, living here, and probably some of the residents from Winfield in that area can tell you, the traffic on Bank, a lot of it comes from Chartiers. And they make that movement calculated because they figure I can go from Chartiers through Winfield, not necessarily stop at that stop sign, go to the next one, right turn, keep moving, and I'm there before I come out the other side on Chartiers. And what that does, twofold. One is it prohibits the traffic from Lesnut from getting out to go straight across, because it's not straight. So moving the intersection, moving the alignment 20 feet, which is available when the buses move, I know they're not taking 20 feet, but there's a 65-foot radius there from stop bar to, now what I wanted to see on the study was where right-of-way was. Exactly, because if you look where Woolers puts their cones out at night, I would assume that's their right-of-way. But anyhow, there's room there to move over once the buses come on the other side. And you're not taking any property, you're just switching.
Just shifting it from one side to the other.
Yeah, initially. Now, going back to the angle, once you move and get that distance, there's also a requirement that intersecting angles on offset intersections shouldn't be less than 75 degrees. You want to be, primarily, you should be 90 degrees. 75% can be done, but nothing under 60 is ever accepted. So what it would mean in alignment, you'd almost skew the intersection over and maybe realign Chartiers so that they line up straight across. I'm just pointing out some improvements to what's currently there before we walk away from it and say we can't do anything. But I know this, believe me, I know all these roads are PennDOT roads. We can't do anything. But we were going to do some advisement if the roundabout was going to work. So it's kind of going to see if, and it's St. Clair also, if they'd be interested in looking at this another way, in trains. So,
I'll share this with Trans in the morning.
yeah, I have some other details here, I don't know. If it's considered, Chartiers could be further realigned whenever that work on Chartiers happens. There's a lot of wall to be built there. There's a ravine on the other side right there that can be built and realigned so that it lines up better with Westland. What this would do, obviously, reduce traffic on Winfield, Sarah, Harding, because I cut down Harding, because there's 20 cars sitting at the bank. I'm going down around the corner. So that's our local traffic. So any other questions from me or questions?
When they say reportable accidents, what qualifies as like if Bruce has to tow, does that get reported as an accident?
I think it's an injury.
Yeah, no, reportable is if it's the vehicle's towed from the scene.
I mean, no injuries, but you still gotta, it still gets called.
Yeah.
So that gets notched in.
Yeah, because they always try to keep from
No, I know, it was mentioned that before the BRT might eliminate that route, but still, right, I heard, it's a funding problem. Well, I heard on the news last night, the Senate passed the money, but the House hasn't or something like that, they're looking for, so this is something that still needs to be considered, whether you move the buses and you take over the road, and then they can just, it's actually easier to do once they're gone.
Yes.
You know, put that buy-in, of course.
So, Joe, will they be looking, I mean, when they're looking at like any other options, then like they have capacity or space for left turning lanes, are they open that kind of stuff now, or still that?
Their scope. Their scope was the roundabout.
Yeah.
And then essentially it was that they didn't want to leave us with nothing. So then they went above and beyond with the traffic signal. And then we said, well, a poor man's traffic signal, why can't we start with a stop sign? You know, at least look at it. So
I threw in some turning lanes that fit. Obviously, the one that Lesnut fits, because we do it now. I also think there's enough room for a turning lane at Bank Street, because those are more than, there's parking, you just take the parking away. But I'm kind of hesitant about that, because you're trying to dissuade people from coming up Bank Street. You're trying to make them go to Chartiers. You don't want them going through. So the movement there, you have to understand, you put a turning lane to the left, yeah, that helps them. You put it straight through, then more people come that way and continue through. So but there's room at Chartiers for turning lane. So that helps.
What's the schedule now for work on Chartiers?
That's 27 now. I think it was.
2027?
That's the right way, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's what it's been.
One other thing I'm thinking about it, Joe, in their study, do they discuss or show what the highway occupancy permit is for Woolers?
I'm not sure.
Because that would be important as to
He
what
definitely-
exactly they have.
Yeah, I know he definitely reviewed Wooler's access, because there was discussion, he didn't want their driveway to be in the middle of a roundabout. So they looked at different concepts of relocating the entrance to Wooler's so that you got them up where the bus shelter is. Then Wooler didn't lose much because the parking could have been relocated. So they looked at different concepts for the Wooler's property. So specifically on his actual HOP, I'm not sure, but I know they definitely looked into his driveway, so we have to look.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other questions for Joe regarding this study? Item 4, table discussions, items that had been tabled last month. Main Street bump outs, planting plan, no construction on the bump out is planned to start this week.
And they've started,
Have they?
signs are off?
Okay.
Yeah.
They're cut out, like
Yeah.
on Ray Streets.
Yeah.
Or official.
So, at Winfield, are they gonna be on both sides?
All four
All
corners.
four corners, okay.
They're painted out. If you go up there, I'm pretty sure they're painted out. You'll see them in white.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion?
When do they expect final?
He said 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
That's
So-
the whole street, because they're doing all the
Okay,
handicap ramps up
right,
and down.
okay.
We said, the construction inspector said, give it 6 weeks.
So we have 6 weeks to decide what kind of plants we're gonna put in there.
And you know, something is like, I don't know if you guys caught it, but the boards that Randy had tonight about those landscaping beds, I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect for the
Yeah.
compound, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah, so it's like.
Yeah, some of those photos were super, they were helpful for
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, it's right
Right.
there.
So do we need to make a recommendation then for the planting, or?
Well, I think one thing we have to figure out, we can't, I mean, do you really wanna put trees? You can't put a tree in the middle of that.
I think we've struck visibility.
Correct. Okay, so.
But those low plants that were.
Right, yeah, something that will survive both the exhaust as well as drought and salt,
Yeah.
so, okay,
Yeah.
we can,
So in other words, artificial.
yeah, there's some good artificial stuff.
Just need some PA natives.
I don't know how you survive salt as a living
Yeah,
driving.
exactly.
It'd be the same, it'd be no different than the plants on the avenue.
Right.
There's some that make it, and then we have to replace a couple here and there each year. So,
How was that, do you know what the dimensions were of the, like the planting area?
I do, I can get you them.
Okay.
And, once they're done with their project, they'll just be mulch, turned over to us mulch beds. I'll get you, the dimensions.
Should be good. Okay, any further discussion regarding the bump out?
So my question is, if we know it's gonna take 6 weeks, is what they tell us. So at next month, do we want to get you
Yeah.
those sizes?
Yeah,
And then should I ask Randy for, hey, what do you have in those, so that you guys can start
Yeah.
putting something together, so that at the April meeting, we can present something, because it'd be nice to plant.
before Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're
Then
just
just
too hot,
something.
yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign.
Yeah, the more information we have, and sooner we have it, we can jump on it.
Yeah.
Make some decisions and keep moving.
So what she had there, I saw it was a perfect fit. Okay, seems like it would fit the vision that you guys have. We'll see.
Item 10B, under table discussion, South End Washington Avenue streetscape concept discussion.
So she has all those. Borrow it again.
She's done all her work.
Yeah.
She has all those
Perfect.
examples. Maybe a little mini, think at the thing, hey, what do you guys think, while you're here, what about the streetscaping down in the south end and your thoughts on, here's some, you wanna continue it down, we'll have a captive audience of all the people on Main Street.
It's not a bad idea.
I do have a question. In regards to streetlights, all right, there are streetlights down there, but they're on the wooden poles, correct? How old are our streetlights on Main Street right now?
Most were put in with the original project, so like, what was it, mid-80s, I think that was, correct?
Okay, so you're talking, let's say 1985. Do we have any tentative plans on ever replacing those?
They get replaced through attrition. To be
Okay.
very frank with you, we replace probably 2 a year from trucks hitting them. So I'd say probably out of all you have, maybe a third of them have been replaced already in the past
Okay.
30 years.
All right. So those will remain. And I'm only asking because if we decide, let's just say we want to put street lights out at the south end to be cohesive with the rest of the blocks, all right? Those are still available?
Yes, because we have spares downstairs. I buy 2 a year. But we have to.
They're not cheap.
No, they're
I know,
five
that's,
grand
and they're
for
not
the
gonna
whole.
stay, they're only gonna go escalate price too.
And it takes a long time to get them because they're made at a foundry. So
Okay.
there's usually a 3-month lead. So you keep 2 in supply because otherwise if a car takes them out, you're waiting
Right.
months.
And there is no chance of underground utilities at the south end.
Moving the current utilities to underground.
Correct.
I would say the south end is more doable than the north end. Because if you look down on the south end, a lot of the overhead is essentially to run a couple of streetlights that you have in front of Bethany Church. And I think you have like service to Mr. Sarasic's house. And I think one other building, and that's it. You do have the crossover at James Street that I think will always be there. But actually, when you go down, there isn't much. It actually is very doable. The north end, it is probably cost prohibitive.
Well,
When you say north end, you mean?
North.
I know, but I mean, do you mean all the way at the creek or at the north end of Glen Hook downtown?
No, I would say from here to all of it, because you have it down both sides and it's spaghetti.
well, and on the south end, there's a good stretch of driveway that doesn't have the curb from the street up. How would you, you're not gonna put streetlights in the middle of the driveway.
What are we talking about?
Down here on the south end, from
Where those apartments.
right across the street from the post office, down towards Rite Aid.
Well, I think you would, because a normal curb cut for business is what, 24 feet? You don't have 100 foot of curb cut. Yeah, but you shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have,
It's
but
not.
put down here, you've got Bridgeville Appliances store, you've got the apartment next door, and there's another business. That's all just,
That's an issue like we have here with, everyone goes, oh, just put up pedestrian flashing signs and we're good, So, for example, Dairy Delight has a never-ending curb cut. Their whole property is a curb cut. So, to do the plan that was presented for the pedestrian signals showed improved ADA ramps. And then it showed, hey, if we're gonna get a signal permit, we can't have this pedestrian signal in the middle of a curb ramp. So it was designed having Dairy Delight having a normal traditional 24-foot curb ramp into their parking lot, and then have a standard curb the rest of the way up. So that way you're restricted. You can't just pull it anywhere you want. It's actually safer for pedestrians because cars are going in here versus anywhere.
right.
Well, then now you have business owners who wanted change, but now that change is coming and it impacts you a little more personally, we're throwing up, hey, come on, I'm gonna lose up a parking spot. So we design your parking lot for you. And then they come back and say, I don't like my parking spots being 9 foot. I like them more at 10 foot. I said, sorry, the code is 9 foot and you won't lose anything. So now we're back to design number 4 because of things over here on like what you said about.
Down on, we're talking down here in
Yeah,
Washington.
we all want change until it affects us. And then these things, you can see these cans get kicked forever because that's the easy way to go. So you're spot on. That's going to be an issue. But I think it comes down to is, hey, we're actually a curb cut should be. If we're trying to improve pedestrian safety and Main Street, you can't have.
Extended driveway going across the side.
And especially when
Okay,
some
well-
of those places park their trucks right in the sidewalk. You know, it's like, come on, should be a sidewalk here that people can walk on as opposed to going out onto Washington Avenue to get past it.
You see that down there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Still why?
And that's,
Like, that should be tolerated down there.
Right.
Like, I get, like, no offense to other areas in town, it shouldn't be accepted, but it's understandable. Down there, I don't know. I didn't know.
Okay, I just didn't know, I mean, I walking down there and looking at it and trying to envision the street lights,
Yeah,
you know, extending them all the way down to Rite Aid,
yeah.
you know, both sides of the street. You know, the post office side is not gonna be that much of an issue. But on the opposite side, you know, that first block, I'll call it, you know, you've got the apartment building, you've got Bridgeville Plains, and then you've got that other one. I mean, that's, all that is driveway.
And if we're 25, 30 foot apart, it shouldn't change much, but there should be some type of restructuring of that.
So could
I'm
we
with,
put that on-
I'm with you on this, I'm just trying to.
I'm shooting for my hip breaker,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. You know.
Yeah, I was just trying to envision, you know, how it would look and a good way to do it. But
Yeah.
that's what we.
I think the good way to do it is kind of goes to like what we're dealing with here with Dairy Delight, where their driveway gets redefined and actually defined,
Well,
you know?
yeah,
And we're really ahead of ourselves, because I don't even know what it looks like down there, but I'm just saying this because this is the conversation, you know, I'm having today.
okay.
So can we put that on our quarterly agenda to get something accomplished?
Sure. I don't see why not.
I think our goal is here is to, by the end of the year, have a concept plan put together so that we can start trying to lobby for funding. to
Right,
Bring it to reality, because the South End, a lot of the hard stuff's done for us.
Yeah.
It's now the cliche lipstick time, you know, because the road's done, you know?
Joe, when you're talking about a concept, there's a lot of elements that we've been kicking around and that are covered in all of our stuff. Can you, not even just like here now, but can you send us like what element, are we talking, in all cases, we talking streetlights, parking, width of the road, or in some cases, or we're talking about long-term business owners like Dairy Delight, you know, can we get some, at least in my head, I'm trying to balance what's a problem over here, but what's a problem up there, but which is not a problem over there, but it's a problem down there.
I think we can give like a little summary, hey, we had a couple different projects going on that we're just talking about, we need to get off go, like that pedestrian island at Hickman Street. So we have a plan for that.
Right.
It's in the active transportation plan. We have the plans from the bridge, so you know where right of way and stuff like that is. We do have elements of the comp plan that suggest removal of the overhead wires. So if we start putting the little pieces together, we kind of already designed this for us.
Right.
And then you just have to work out these little widgets, like you said about a driveway here.
Yeah.
Because we're a small town, and those are the sensitive things that get the projects off go. So we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll get you that.
No worry, just trying to.
Speaking of that island, what's going on with that island?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was very expensive. And to be honest with you, it's like if it's not part of an overall streetscape project, it probably wouldn't be built, you know?
Well, can we make it part of this overall streetscape?
Sure, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Just checking.
Good question. Bolliards.
Bollards, I've seen enough bollards in Washington DC.
Bolliards, big,
There you keep.
big steel ones.
Cars up.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else with the south end? Comments?
We're gonna leverage all these great photos that Brandy gave us,
I know.
and put a nice plan together.
Okay.
That was actually really nice.
Yeah.
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 I mean, there's great, like, it has great stuff on there.
And
Okay.
that was nice, because you always talk about strong towns, you know, and if you, like, you follow strong towns, it's like, that little exercise there is what strong
Right.
towns does
It's
all
all
the time.
about,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay, general updates. Earth Day Community Cleanup Event Saturday, April 26th, starting at 10 a.m. Meet at the Borough Building. Do you have any other additional information to add to that? No?
Not just volunteers or.
Okay, we're looking for volunteers, always looking for volunteers for help out.
Joe, did you already put that on Facebook?
Yeah, that we created an event,
Okay.
and it's on the sign out front, and newsletter goes out in a couple weeks, and it will be in the quarterly newsletter.
Thank you. Wildwood Street Pollinator Garden Project. Yasmin?
Well-
Melissa?
Melissa and I have been working on this weekly on something. We basically are looking for potentially 2 planning dates sometime in May, all right? We think that we're gonna probably be able to break up, because we have a ton of volunteers.
I know the school's interested in being part of that, remember? I think we really need to get them a date soon, so.
Correct, and that's what, we're just trying to figure out which dates. And I think we looked at the 10th and the 17th of May.
Are they doing more than the art?
No, but
Okay.
I think they were interested in helping out with planting.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I feel
school's
like we need to get them on
providing
somebody on the
mosaic
contact on the
murals
list then.
Right,
for the
right.
butterfly garden.
We do need to talk to Betty as to see what those mosaics are all about.
Yeah.
That's why we need to get the dates so that she has
Correct.
something to.
Right,
go.
right. The other thing is too, is since Brandy had some great examples of rain gardens in there, we could look at some point, putting a rain garden in down there. I did talk to Jen from the beer distributor today, and she's willing to lend us her parking lot, so we can maybe put up some tables and with information on pollinator gardens and so forth. And that's about it. But she's very excited about the pollinator garden.
And the water surface was installed on Friday.
I think they did backfill it today.
Yeah, so the, our guys put the pits in and the spigot in 2 weeks ago, and water company came in on Friday and did the connection, so we have water
Is
surface.
it turned on?
I don't know if it's turned on, but I know that it's connected.
And how are we gonna control that?
We'll have a lock on it.
Okay,
So we'll, like, whoever you make like garden
okay,
captains or whatever, we'll make sure you have a key to the,
okay,
to the
all
faucet.
right. All right,
Joe, do we have chips down at Chartiers that we could like spread some chips? We're just thinking about like if the space around the bed gets muddy, like.
All the
depending on-
chips that we had down at Chartiers got used up last week at Cook School.
Okay.
So, but we have brush grinding that runs all of April, so we'll have collections in April.
Okay.
So we'll be good, so when you go down and see the Chartier stuff gone, know that we'll have a new supply in April.
and all those rocks are gone too, right?
Yeah, those mysterious rocks, yeah, that just rained from heaven.
Just checking.
Those were to armor the hillside.
I mean, just like 6 of them though.
All right.
Okay.
Any word about the flood mitigation money?
No, we're still waiting, and we talked to Pima. Pima is, doesn't say like, hey, it's dead, it's just a matter of we're stuck in red tape. So I reached out to our congressmen and senators last week to see if they can start getting us through that. But,
Okay.
yeah. The Pima guy was almost like, he this is what they deal with.
So,
It wasn't an issue to them.
when do we,
But I'm more than happy to share with you, the emails I have from our contacts at Pima. It'll give you a little more
awareness?
not awareness, just comfort. 'Cause
Yeah.
it did me too, because like you hear all this federal things being cut, this is cut, and where's this put us, you know? And, they said, no, you're still, it's
Okay.
just a matter of going through their reviews.
So now, for planning purposes, does that put the second step into a delay factor, or?
I don't know. Let's see when we start and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if FEMA doesn't,
I'm still hopeful that we're gonna be starting something this year, at least out the bid by the end of the year.
you think it will happen by the
I'm
end of the year?
I'm thinking so. Because we've got all the permits in place, all the easements in place. It's an environmental review with FEMA, and if we've got a DEP environmental permit in hand, what could they be asking us different than the DEP? It's the same questions, because they send me review things monthly, and it's a lot of the same information we have at the state level, we're going there, so. I don't know, but what the guy at Pima is telling me is it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean, even
And I'm at his mercy.
yeah, we all are, but, I mean, if it ends up going out for bid at the end of the year, I mean, there's not gonna be any ground breaking or anything for another.
I'm more concerned is that if we do get the go, that costs have just gone high and bids are gonna be outside of the budget, and then we have to figure out how we're gonna do that. So I'm more concerned with what's at.
When you bid something like that, you know, hey, I bid it here, I bid it on this date, and we're planning on, you know, by the time it comes around, it's gonna be a year from now or 2 years from now. Do they build that into, like,
Into the
inflation?
FEMA.
What?
You talking about into the grant money?
Yeah, like, hey, we got a bid for this, and it was $1 million, but we're not gonna be, we don't plan on doing this for 2 years, so we build into the budget that it's gonna be 1.2 million, we're gonna put 20% of it.
There's contingencies built into it, and then John, when he does the estimates, does prepare, but your crystal ball's only so.
Right, exactly, I mean, it's not like you're, you know, doing what gold is or
Yeah,
something
because
like
like,
that.
look at Warner Avenue, that's.
Yeah,
not
that's
perfect.
what I'm talking about, it's like, you know, by the time you did it, by the time you paid for it, it was 2 different things.
And then we're trying, like, we're using this downtime, it's like, okay, what can we do in the meantime to try to raise additional funding for it, just if these do come in high? So there's a Pennsylvania state grant for sewers. So John put a scope together for me, and I'm working on a grant to apply for all the storm sewer improvements that's needed as part of that project. So hopefully that comes through, at least that keeps building a cushion up, that if these numbers are high, at least we got
Taking something off of that.
correct. So we're trying to be creative.
That's good.
And we've saved a lot of money over the past couple of years where we created a flood fund, you know, and we didn't have that a couple of years ago, and now we got 400,000 we saved up just in the flood fund in a couple of years. So we're getting there. It's just now we're at the mercy of someone else to say, go. And, okay.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to use that flood fund for.
For real floods. Yeah, for floods, that's what we want, we want to save it for floods. So otherwise, it's gonna be your fund balance, you know.
Any word on Pittsburgh Pottery?
No, and I reached out to him today, because we're working on the second quarter newsletter.
Mhm.
So I said, hey, we'd like to maybe put a little blurb in the newsletter that you're coming to
Yeah.
town, you're opening. And I emailed him to see if he'd be okay if I write out
Yeah.
something, so I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
But I emailed him right around lunchtime today, so it must be thinking of the same.
Okay. Any other issues on once? Okay. Public comment?
You want me to come up or am I good here?
Stand up and identify yourself and leave an address, please.
My name is Rich Poplawski, 609 Elm Street. We have, I guess, the water projects and stuff are going on at Elm Street now with Casper and Colosimo. They've been really nice, but we have a little issue, and I think they were going to email you or Tony. He was one of the foremen. I thought it might have been them guys with something. We had the water actually shoot, not from the tank, but from the bowl of our toilets in the house. It shot up in our basement bathroom enough to hit the ceiling. All our sinks shot up from the drain, even the top floor, it was like a fountain. And that whole house smelled like sewage. I went down and grabbed the guys on the road, Casper Colosimo, the foreman Tony came into the house, he was like, he smelled it. He went and had the plate removed in front of the house. Our house where they worked, we thought maybe they hit the terracotta line or something dropped. That wasn't it. He then came back to the house, very nice gentleman, said that they found out that Robertson Pipe Cleaning was down there. They thought maybe they might have done something, but I've never seen anything like this. I'm not complaining like there's damage, I cleaned it up, it's a pretty mess, but it literally, every sink in the house, except the garbage one, had water that shot up from the drain, even on the upstairs, so there'd be a lot of pressure going on in there. We weren't home, but you could see from what was left that happened, so I just wanted, I don't know if you knew about
Yeah,
that?
he did let us know. What's going on is, we have sewer inspection work going on within the borough, and to keep costs down this time around, it was a good thing. So in the past, we would clean every line we televised and then camera. So the engineer this time around televised, and then areas that were bad, then they cleaned. So they kept costs down. Why clean a clean pipe, you know? So they got through all the inspection work, now they're cleaning the dirty sections. And Robinson Pipe is a subcontractor working for our camera inspection firm. And there are instances, it happens once or twice a year when they run a backhoe truck, that it does affect homes. And I knew that happened because the water company contractor reached out to me last week. And I apologize that you went through that. And there was another property that had a similar situation today. So the engineer is aware of it, and not saying it's an excuse, but it does
I
happen.
can understand that. I mean, is there a possibility that this could have caused some damage in the long term to the pipes that may, from the back pressure into the thing that we would have to worry about in the future?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, just always curious of that. Other than that, the guys seem to be working really nice on the street, water on, off, or whatever, but are they replacing the brick? Are they gonna end up replacing the cobblestone?
Yes.
In the way that we even ones, because I noticed they sawed through some of the cobblestone. I thought they were gonna be removing it piece by piece without saw. I just.
No, it's a good question. So the company, Colosimo, is working for the water company to put a new water main on Elm Street.
Okay.
That's what they did last year.
Yeah.
Now they're in the process of putting new service lines to
Yep.
hose, and they'll be wrapping that up probably within this week.
Yeah.
And there's a subcontractor who specializes in brickwork
Okay.
that is going to be following them and starting to put the bricks back. And the way it will work is they'll backfill, compact, and then they'll put a concrete base down,
Okay.
and then the new bricks get laid on the concrete.
Okay.
They do have all the Mayer bricks that came out,
Okay.
and you are correct, they did saw cut them.
Okay.
So they had a stash of red Mayer bricks from another Bridgeville street that they did years ago
Okay.
in their supply yard that they're gonna use to make the, I don't know what terms I'm gonna call them, wishbones.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you'll have full red Mayer bricks going back down, and that's how it's been explained to us many times. So I know it's been a big inconvenience for you guys that this project went over a year, but they assure us that they have Mayer bricks, they are red, and they have a brick guy that is already slated. I got the one calls for that fella that he's gonna be starting soon as well, so I'm very confident that you'll see him within the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
starting to do the brickwork coming down the street. So hopefully, by this time next month, we can start to put this to bed.
I'm on the one part that's paved on that hill right towards closer to the bank, but I still like the bricks that I heard about it, so.
No, it's a good question.
When you're talking about the traffic circle out there, not that I'm on Elm, but my driveway's on Spruce. So, that's a little alley, but it's actually kind of smooth. We get so many people that speed down from Chartiers. My son likes to ride his scooter around, and that's one of the, it just does, I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but it's a thing, it is. I know I always update you guys on the school board since I've been coming here. Not much to say, they canceled our school board meeting this week. They won't give us an answer why so far, we don't know why, but at the last meeting, I know, they are actually with their transportation department, who I'm very advocating for. We don't know what's going on yet still, but they decided to assess how efficient our routes are run, the drivers' routes, to see if they can make it more efficient. And we didn't even know what they were talking about. But what they did is First Student was one of the companies that bid to take over our transportation department. They are paying them the school district is paying First Transportation up to $14,000 to come back in and do a survey of our own routes. And then it looks like they're gonna have the chance to rebid after they find out how to make it more efficient. So this is just me more saying there was a lot of appearance of impropriety and things that look like conflict going on in the school board. And any support, any interest, we can't even find out why our school board meeting was canceled. And that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Joe? Mike? Okay. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All signify by, all those in favor signify by saying aye.